Hey, I'm Morgan,
I'm Chris. Welcome to the Midlife Mud,
where we promise to bring the real shit, all the grit, and pretty much zero clue about how to deal with this crazy phase of life.
And by the way, because this is all about feeling less alone, what we want most is to connect with you.
Absolutely. So take a few seconds and visit themidlifemud.com and join our community.
And you'll stay up to date on all the dirt.
And even better, become a part of the conversation.
We can't wait to see you there. All right, tighten those boots and let's get muddy.
Welcome to the Mud and happy April Fool's Day. It's April Fool's Day.
I don't like April Fool's Day. I don't know why.
What?
I'm not much of a joker.
I'm not either.
I don't enjoy practical jokes a lot of times.
You know, one of the things that I think is funny. I mean, I think there's some just silly little things that are totally harmless that are fine. I think sometimes people take it way too seriously and it goes too far. Like I think I was, like that show Game of Thrones, the guy Kit Harington, the actor,
yes,
who plays Jon Snow. So he and his wife, she was a character also anyway, they got married in real life.
Yeah.
And he had this big joke where he had a prosthetic head of his made, and it was like all, just it looked like it had been severed. And he stuck it in their refrigerator, and then she opened the door. And it looked really real. It was like from a movie set, like that good.
Yeah.
And he recorded it, and it was horrible. I mean, it was horrible. Her reaction to it was horrible. So that, not so much. That's not funny.
Too far.
But I do really love, like, have you ever seen when people will put saran wrap across a door frame?
Oh, yes.
And people will go walking in and smash their face against it. Like, I love that because it's totally harmless and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen some really good ones of those. But you've never done any pranks or any fun?
I can't honestly think of any. I'm sure that I have.
Do people around you, like, do the kids do them at all? Or do they even care about April Fool's Day?
They do it a little bit, but it's never really been a huge tradition.
Yeah. Not here either.
A little bit, but not. There's no like one-upsmanship. I know a lot of people really get into like, I'm going to get you next time.
Oh, they get super into it. Yeah. Oh, anyway. So if any of you guys know of any good pranks or you have any up your sleeve today, then share them with us. It'd be fun to hear.
Since the last time, I don't know why, it feels like it's been 6 years since we recorded an episode.
Well, it kind of has.
It has not. It hasn't been that long. But it feels like a long time, and it feels like a lot has happened. And one of the things that we've done in conjunction with the podcast is created this community of folks where we share with them. And the hope is that it creates this feedback loop. So we have an amazing kind of nucleus of people that have signed up. And we got a few call outs specifically around some of the last few episodes that were really, really nice. And
well, specifically about the last 2 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of dove a little deeper into our stories.
A little deeper.
Yeah.
And it elicited some sharing of other folks talking about, relating points and just really appreciating the discussion and the vulnerability and the honesty. And to me, it just meant a lot to hear that.
Yeah. I'm with you. It really did. And it surprised me that the timing of it, I mean, really, multiple people reached out in the same day in response to both of those episodes. And it just felt kind of like we needed that in a way.
Well, just to go a little bit behind the scenes, like we had spent some time playing around with recording, and believe it or not, we don't always get it on the first take. And we are still learning.
We're little babies when it comes to podcasting.
I don't know. I don't think we really talked about it a lot, but I just sensed that you had some things on your mind around the podcast and just really, I think both of us really want it to have an impact and be meaningful for people. And there's always this question of, is it really connecting?
Yeah. Like I said to a couple people, it feels like we're just kind of shouting into the void sometimes. And
yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Except there's no echo.
Right. And it's a labor of love. It is a lot of work. It's a labor of love. But at the end of the day, when you and I set out to do this, it was really about feeling less alone and connecting with people. And so it just felt really good.
Yes.
That some people are listening. It's really resonating with them. And it's sparking some conversation, which is fantastic.
Well, what I loved, all of a sudden, it was just like this rapid fire of... This is really meaningful. And it came in emails. It came in texts. And
voice messages.
Voice messages. Yes, we got our very first voice message.
It was like the universe was like, keep going, guys.
Follow the omens.
Keep going. And ultimately, our intention is with the community that we build, which, by the way, if you would like to become a part of our Muddy community, all you have to do is go to themidlifemud.com/join and sign up. And what that means is you'll get some emails from us every now and again. I promise we won't spam you a bunch. But our intention is really to connect our listeners to each other at some point with a live event or something. So that's yet to be determined, and it's a little ways down the line. But if that's something you ever think you might be interested in, jump on board.
All aboard.
Anything to add?
I don't know. That's all I've got.
Okay. I like it. Okay. On to what are we doing today?
I think you and I can agree that life often feels super stressful.
Yeah.
And that sometimes it feels like there's just no way out of that. Like you're just stuck in that stress and there's not really a great way to relieve it. And yeah, we can sort of do it, but mostly we just all look forward to vacations.
We're just kind of suffering until the next break. Yep.
Right. We're just kind of suffering and there's not this daily release of that stress. Like, what are we supposed to do with it? So that's what we're talking about today.
Stress relief.
Stress relief.
And to kind of launch into this, we have all heard the multitude of things that we can do to reduce our stress, right? We know what they are. Maybe we're not doing all of them, but that's okay. We all know about just having a good regular self-care routine, getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising. I'm falling asleep as I'm saying this. Like, who cares?
Just as a quick side note.
What?
Since we did, what episode was it in? Maybe Dreaming. Mm-hmm. We were talking about like things that we do to kind of shift into a different place, mm-hmm. right? Of dreaming versus being really practical. And I think you and I both mentioned this. I mentioned meditation. Mm-hmm. Now, I still get teased at home about that.
About meditating?
Honey, are you meditating right now? They're like, I've never seen you meditate.
Oh my God, my kids walk in on me meditating all the time. And it's funny because they start their sentence. They like barge in the room and they're like, Mom, blah, blah. And they know I'm not going to answer. I'm just sitting there with my eyes closed and they're like, damn it. And they walk out of the room. Sometimes they'll pick up my watch to look at how much time is left so they know when they can bother me.
Yes. See, your style of meditation is much more formal than mine.
Yeah.
And I tend to spend an awful lot of time in the car by myself. And I will stop the car and sit there and meditate for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And that's how I get that done. But I still get teased about that.
Well, it does have sort of this stigma, I guess. I don't know. Not that this episode is about meditation, but...
No.
But yeah. So meditation, I would definitely put in for my own personal self-care routine. It's part of it. Having a community around you, a social community that you connect with often. Breathing practices kind of go along with meditation. We've talked about that. And, having a gratitude practice that you do every day. These are all things that can help with stress reduction. We've heard of all these things. What are some others?
For me, well, I like to frolic.
Okay. Noted. I don't know why Bambi just popped into my brain, but yeah.
I like it. I like where you're going with that. Follow Bambi. It could be an omen.
Or it could be drugs. You just never know.
I will put a quick disclaimer. None of my activities have anything to do with drugs or alcohol. At least not currently.
Okay, so this is not an acid trip that you're talking about.
No, I say it that way because when I think of the word frolic, I think about like a physical space of being in that is lighter. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of different activities, like obviously, I mean, it's come up a lot already. For me, getting outside, getting exposure to the vastness of the outdoors is a huge piece of what I do to kind of unload stress.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really love doing is I love to get involved in like multiple sensory experiences. Like I want to feel the wind in my hair. I want to touch it. I want to be under the water. I want to smell it. I want to taste it.
Yeah. Isn't that part of being in nature? Like, I feel like that is so much more accessible.
But I am like that, whether I'm in nature, quote unquote,
or not. Yeah.
or not. Like I like to really interact physically with the world. And
you are probably the only person that I know that literally smells his food before he sticks it in his mouth. And I mean, like, it's a production. It is not just a little aroma checking. It is like in your nostril.
Oh, for my entire life, I have been teased about it. I put it in my nose. And I feel so misunderstood.
No, but I know what you're saying. Like there's something about fully experiencing whatever it is you're experiencing, which I actually envy. A lot of people don't do that. They don't take the time to do that. So that's what you're supposed to do. We're the weird ones.
Well, I don't know if it's supposed to or not. I think it's a pretty personal thing. But for me, that is super important.
Yeah. Well, I think it's part of being in the moment.
Yes.
You know, there's not really a supposed to, but if you really want to connect and be fully present, connecting to all of your senses is the way to do that.
Another one for me is laughter, like genuine laughter. And I like to just make fun of the things that life brings to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not big on making fun of other people or any of that stuff. But you know what? The world and life gives us so much material that's funny as hell. Every day, it's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And I love to play with that.
Ooh, you said a word there.
What?
You said a special certain word there.
If you say it backwards, it's yelp. Oop, there's laughter.
Yes. Play. Let's talk about that word. It's out there now. We've said the word. And if you have not totally freaked out like I tend to do when this word comes up and turned off the episode, first, thank you for not turning it off. Secondly, we really want to double down on this and talk about why play is important for adults, not just kids, and how that plays into stress relief and all that stuff. So we're going to do the little bit of that, talk about what it is, how we do it, and then better than that, at the end, we're going to really kind of do a playful game.
Oh, God.
Whatever. This is totally up your alley.
I know. I love playing.
I'm like strapped to my seat here.
I do just want to interject. Like when we started talking about stress and then play as an anecdote for stress, I got very curious and I talked to, it wasn't a formal survey, but I would say I talked to 10 people that are adults, kind of in the midlife mud, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I just found it astoundingly interesting, the response. And it was a nonverbal response across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I would bring the word play up and people are like they had to eaten something sour. Like, what? Play. I guess for kids, one person actually said that.
Yes. I can tell you what my experience was when you brought this up as a potential topic. It's like I logically know it's an important topic, and at the same time, I like shut down. It's like, yeah, it's just not my bag. You know what I mean? This was a challenge for me to really explore play and think about it.
It's not your bag, so to speak. I know that that's your frame of it.
As an adult.
But
yeah.
Right. But that being said, I can tell you times that we fucking play on this podcast.
I know. No, we do. But when you think, like when I think of it as like, okay, I'm going to incorporate this into my stress relief routine. Like if I'm going to be intentional about play, fucking forget it. It turns into not play.
Yeah.
Because I manipulate it too much. Like this begs the question, what is play? What are we talking about when we talk about play for an adult? Are we talking about like building blocks and board games? Like, what are we talking about? Getting drunk on vacation?
No.
You know, like I actually said this to my to my husband. I was like, oh, we're going to talk about play. And he's like, what do you mean, like vacation? Like, really, we don't know what it is. What is it?
It can be.
It can, yeah.
So I was confused about that too, which is funny because I love play.
Mhm.
I connect to it.
Mhm.
But I struggle, like when you ask me, what is play, Chris? I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
So what I kind of came to learn about others that talk about play, and I read the book by Dr. Stewart, who I think is one of the leading experts about play. And he's a physician, I believe.
He is. He's also the head of the National Institute of Play. Who knew there was such a thing?
Of course he is. Yeah. He talks a lot less about, my brain wanted to go into what activities are play.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's what are the characteristics and the feelings when you're doing whatever the activity is. And that activity could be very different depending on who you are and what your interests are. And
Yeah.
it's hard to define in terms of an activity or...
Well, and it kind of defeats the purpose of it in a way. By defining it, you're taking away the play of it.
Right. I know that you specifically asked me about adulthood. But one of the important grounding points for me was to go back and think about childhood.
Yeah.
And to think about, like, what was play then? And the way that I connected to it is, yes, I have some examples of play, but it's about how it made me feel.
Right.
And I can still connect to that same feeling as an adult now. It just may look slightly different, but really actually not that different. For me.
Really, you're still frolicking around.
Right. I mean, I can remember, for example, actually, let's do a little fun comparison game. So,
Okay.
when I was a child, I remember going to Sears in the Suburban, like the 3-toned Suburban with the CB and the power windows, which at that time was like an amazing luxury feature.
Mega big deal.
And getting a maroon with a bold orange lettering Physio Fit bicycle, which was too big for me. And it didn't have the bar that went straight across. It had the one that went down so I could get my leg over it. And that thing was a gateway to freedom for me. I mean, I loved that bike.
Oh, yeah.
I used to play truck in the driveway. I would get you out on your pink Huffy and I'd pretend like I was in a big truck and you were in a sports car and I was talking on a CB and we would ride around in circles.
Right. But see, okay, right there. There's something there. It's not just the riding around.
No.
Like, that's part of it. But it's also the imagination and that kind of stuff that goes along with it.
Flash forward, I can remember I did not ride around in the driveway and make truck sounds and CB sounds anymore, but I remember buying a new mountain bike that I had wanted for years and years. And I did it with a friend of mine, and we both bought these bikes around the same time and just had tons of fun talking about the bike, planning to buy it, planning where we're going to ride, going out, like the exploration of all, again, getting outside, all of that stuff.
There are so many parallels to what you just said to the trip that you had with your good friend Jamie.
Yeah.
Like there's the explorer stuff, there's the getting the gear and preparing for it and getting physically ready and where are you going to go and you're outside. And so, yeah, I mean, I can draw that line between that and the adult.
The Physio Fit was just like a rudimentary version of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think for me, play is not as... My version of play as a kid doesn't translate into my adulthood as much. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe I'm not thinking about it.
All right, I have one more. Lakeside.
Yeah.
We used to go to Lakeside, which is this big rock quarry in town that's converted into a swimming pool. And it's like this, it's just a cool place. It's a really neat place to go swimming. And I remember, and you would do this with me, we would go over there and there was one corner of the rock quarry that had this little concrete landing that was right at the surface of the water.
We'd play shark
and dolphins. I mean, all fucking day.
Oh.
All day. 8 hours of that.
To the point where, like, you get out of the pool and your lungs feel tight. You can't breathe because you've been holding your breath so much.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's so fun. I remember that.
So now, flash forward, last summer, we're driving down the road in Cape Cod and, my girlfriend's in the car and I put on the blinker and she's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going into the surf shop. Today's the day. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm buying a wetsuit today. She looked at me like, what? You are? And I bought a wetsuit and I go to the ocean. Not right now. It's a little too cold because I just have a summer version. And I just love to be in the water.
And swim with the sharks.
The sharks literally are there.
To your partner, you did not hear that.
Yeah, you didn't hear that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is you are good at play. And those things that you did as a kid show up in sort of similar, more adult ways, but they're still very playful.
Right.
And for me, I did all kinds of things as a kid. I definitely remember playing as a kid. And I can be very silly as an adult in very private situations. But I don't, again, it's not something I'm like, oh, this is me being intentional about play. You know, my version of playing when I was a kid was like putting on some of mom's old high heel shoes and standing in front of the steps in the foyer and clip-clopping around, acting like a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I would do that all day long.
Yeah.
But, you know, how does that translate into now? Like, I don't know.
Oh, come on. You can tell us.
Okay. I still do it. No. So back to, okay. I think a lot of people, and maybe I'm just speaking for people that are sort of like me, that maybe struggle to think of what play really is for adults. Like, what are some of the common misconceptions that adults have about play? When you sort of took your survey, what were some other things maybe that came up?
Well, one time I took the survey at the end of a day where we had been skiing, and one of the guys that I was skiing with, a little bit older than me, and we were skiing in the woods and through bumps and stuff like that, and we were having a good time. Like, we were visibly laughing, and at the end of the day, I said, that was fun. That was like, felt like play. And he looked at me like, what are you talking about? I mean, he was like indignant about it.
So what is that, do you think?
I don't know.
I think people like me think it is a waste of time, you know? It's not productive, quote unquote. And so it can feel like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Or that it's just too silly, you know?
I think that's a very true conception for a lot of people.
Maybe, again, this is more confined to our country and like American culture, you know, because we're very go, go, go.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. I think there's also this quarantining of play that happens. And we talked about that already a little bit. Like, oh, time for vacation. We can play now.
Mm-hmm.
Vacation's over. Play's over.
Yeah, we're compartmentalizing a little bit.
Right.
And the danger in that, or the problem with that, is that it sucks. How often are you on vacation in your life?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple weeks out of the year?
Not that much.
And so you're going to confine all of that to just those 2 weeks? It's sad.
Well, there's another thing that I think I observed is there's this very polarized view of play. Like, I'm either serious and I'm doing my everyday super stressful life, or I'm playing.
Yeah, it's either or.
Now, nowhere do I hear in that, those two options. I'm doing my life, it's stressful, but I play a little bit every day, or this was playful today.
Yeah.
No, today was not playful.
Right.
It was serious. Or today was a play day. Yes.
Yeah. It's not the both in one, or the balance
Right.
of the two in some way.
Right.
Or introducing play into work. I think my head would explode.
That's one of my favorites. I literally feel like, especially, the last couple years, I've really leaned into that. I used to not, but I've really leaned into my humor. It's one of my gifts, right? As a way to connect with people, not just at work, but since we're talking about work, I use it every day in almost every single work encounter that I had.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes into back to what's the definition of play. I think ultimately there is no great definition. It's not a thing.
No.
It's more of a process, right? And there are some elements to it, which we'll get to in a moment. And I think humor is a big one. And it is a way that we can infuse it into our daily lives and not have it be like just work or just play. You can mingle them together in some way.
Right.
I think it's also really important for us to speak about the idea of avoidance or escapism.
Yes.
Versus play.
Well, do you know how to tell the difference? Like, how does it feel different for you if you're avoiding versus playing?
I think avoidance, for me, there's an anxiety that comes with it. There is a total, it's like I'm trying to get away from the way that I feel and my whole self,
Yes. I like the use of the word anxiety. I mean, if I'm avoiding something, there's this little shelf in the back of my consciousness that's constantly going, you're avoiding this, you're avoiding this, you're avoiding this, and I can try to suppress it. But if I'm truly lost in play, like that's not there.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the difference.
That's the difference. I think, too, it's important, and you have said this before, there is like a lack of connection to self when you're trying to escape or avoid. For instance, like if you're going to go out and again, I say this with no judgment, but if your idea of play is I'm going to go out and I'm going to get trashed with the girls at wine night this weekend, to me, that doesn't feel like play if the reason you're doing that is because you had a really hard week and you need to blow off steam. And you just want to like forget that it all happened, you know? Because I feel like in that process, there will be a disconnect between you and the rest of the world and yourself.
Right.
Right?
But it's so common. I mean, especially in the workplace. And I did this forever. You know, it's that whole like Friday night, we're going to go out and we're going to have a few drinks and God, we can just get away from this stressful week.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, that's avoidance.
Right. That's not play.
That's not the same as play. So that's a good segue, like, into what are we talking about?
Yeah. Like, then what the fuck is it? And I did my research.
Oh, speaking of which,
what?
I was having an exchange with someone at work today, and she said kind of sheepishly, like, I never used that shit over there. And then she was like, oh my God, I'm sorry I said that. And I said, you know, my sister and I have this thing that you don't really know someone until you hear them say fuck in an organic way. And her whole body just relaxed. She's like, oh.
Yeah, we're getting real, people. What the fuck is play? So Stuart Brown, like you said, psychiatrist, founder of the National Institute of Play, he wrote this book, which we will link in the show notes, called Play: How It Shapes the Brain, Opens the Imagination, and Invigorates the Soul. I love that he says the opposite of play is not work, it's depression. That really resonates to me because I would think, oh, well, if you're not playing, you're working. We were just talking about work versus play, right? It's really easy to put those two things as opposites. So I love that. He also says that play is practice for the body, exercise for the feelings, and training for the mind. And that just makes me feel like I could be the next Karate Kid.
Follow that more. I love it.
Wax on, wax off, baby.
Now, I'm imagining you like with your arms up.
Doing the crane.
Like you're riding a monster chopper bike.
I mean, seriously,
Yes.
that speaks to the overachiever in me. We're going to get good at all the things. He describes it as the essence of freedom. And so he lists these properties of play. One is that there is apparent purposelessness to it. Meaning, you know, you're not doing it to make money. You're not doing it to be liked, or it's just purposeless. It is voluntary. You're not being forced to do it like I am today.
So far, I'm giving you like a C+, but you have potential.
I know. We're working on it. Maybe by the end, we'll see. There's inherent attraction, meaning you enjoy it. You like it. It's stimulating in some way.
Yeah.
There's freedom from time, meaning you just get lost in it. You lose track of time. 8 hours can go by and it feels like minutes. There is diminished self-consciousness, meaning that you're not performing for anyone and you give up the need to try to look good for other people. And you also give up thinking about thinking at all, which I love because I can't do that.
Can you think of anything that you have done or like to do where you notice that happens?
Where I give up thinking about thinking?
Yeah, where you're just not thinking about anything else.
I have to think about that. I have to think about what I think about not thinking. No, there definitely are. I know there are. I just can't pinpoint one right now. Maybe it would be playing the piano.
Oh, I love that.
Not like learning a new song, because that does require a lot of focus and thinking. If I know a song really well and I just sit down to play it, that's when I can't think. I actually cannot. I'm not one of those people that can talk or sing while I play. I can't play.
Interesting.
So I literally cannot think while I'm playing.
That's a beautiful example.
That's interesting. See, I knew it was there somewhere. I don't know.
We had this moment, my girlfriend and I, recently where, again, skiing, and we got to the middle of the run and she kind of pulled up next to me, or she'd probably tell me that I pulled up next to her because I was going slower. And she said, the thing that I really love about skiing is I don't think of anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's play. That's what it is.
Yeah. Something you just intensely enjoy and get lost in.
Get lost in it.
Right? For no other purpose than to just do it and have fun. A couple of more properties that he lists are improvisational potential, meaning that it can be spontaneous. It can shift and change. There are no rules.
Yeah.
It can be what you want it to be whenever you want it to be. Also, this continuation of desire. We're always going to be trying to find ways to prolong it and keep it going. So it's funny because you just asked me, I know you have one. What is it? At least one, right? But I had to really think about it. So I would ask our listeners to think about, what's that thing for you? What's a thing? There's probably more than one.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and it's hard to even, you think you don't know how to play, that's a good question to ask yourself.
There's one other word that just keeps circling in my mind that's embedded in this stuff as you're talking about the properties of play. Curiosity.
Yeah.
Just that sort of pure, innocent curiosity. Like, how does this work? And why did that happen? And, but not in a headsy way.
Yeah. Well, and
in that improvisational way.
I would say the reason he probably doesn't list that as an attribute, because you're right, it can be.
Yeah.
For some people, for others, maybe not. I'm a really curious person by nature. And I think that would definitely be an element for me. The things that I tend to love being playful with are more centered around thinking and wondering and all of that. Some people, their version of play is literally to just go out and roll in the mud. I don't know. Just get wild and crazy and not be curious at all. Just be in it.
There is this kind of interesting loop that happens for me sometimes. And it's back to this fascinating enigma of talking about properties of play versus the activities. Because if I take an activity, it can start out as not playful and then become playful later. If I tried to play the piano, for example, to take yours, that would not be playful for me.
Right.
Because I don't know how to play the piano anymore. But if I applied myself to learn how to play it, some of the basics, it would become play for me later.
Yes.
When I got good enough to be more improvisational.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And to let go of that focus. It's kind of like me in skiing, right? Like when I'm skiing, I am really thinking about skiing. Okay. Really what I'm thinking about is not dying. But eventually, with enough practice and really getting better at it, I can see how it becomes play.
Right.
And less about death. So what we're saying is play is important, right? What are we getting out of it? What's the payoff of play in adulthood?
Well, it makes me joyful.
That's like the number one, right? Like it's just fun.
I just feel like this lightness. And with that, I feel a stress relief. Even in a serious situation, if you interject a little of appropriate lightness or humor, it can really help just relieve the stress.
Right.
Like, no, you can't change the situation a lot of times. Or, even in providing some play or relief, you can do that without avoiding the situation.
Right.
And there can also be a real renewal of energy.
Yeah.
Because what do we feel when we feel stressed? Do you feel energetic?
Hell no.
No. It feels like somebody sat on you.
Right. Have you ever been in that situation where you laugh so hard, like pee your pants, crying, can't stop laughing?
There is a technical term for this. You're talking about being laughy.
Being laughy.
Yes.
Which we invented circa 1985.
85. Yeah, it is a thing.
But it's true. It makes such a difference.
Yeah.
The way that you feel after that, the chemicals that change in your body, it's crazy. It's
I know.
crazy. So definitely that renewed energy. Absolutely what comes to mind for me.
The other thing is connection.
Yeah.
Right. And I love the example that you just made about laughing, especially if you're laughing like that with someone.
Yeah.
There's such a connection that happens around that too. And there's power in that.
There is. I've noticed like the more that we talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that I actually do very routinely in my life is integrate humor. It's been a lot of our language since we were little.
It definitely, is interesting to me that you and I are very different with play in a lot of ways. I mean, that's become so clear in just working on this episode. But humor is 100% how we've always, that's our language.
Yeah.
And it's a certain brand of humor that
nobody else understands.
Yeah. We hope you do, but
humor can really be that connector.
For sure.
The other thing, payoff about play as an adult, is that imagination, and we kind of touched on this in the dreaming episode, so there's some parallels here, but imagination is like a muscle that if you don't use it, it will atrophy. And play really strengthens your imagination, which then improves your ability to reframe situations, right? And in midlife, in particular, we don't have a lot of control over our circumstances a lot of the time. So if you have the ability to reframe the situation, change the way that you look at it, it can change the way that you experience it, right?
Yes.
And so that is how play can be incredibly powerful. Like if you get laid off from your job, that's not something you necessarily had control over. And you could view that as the end of the world, or you could look at that as an opportunity to explore and try something totally new, which could be exciting.
So you're talking about the ability to kind of reshape the way that you're having an experience, the way that you frame it.
Right. And play is the training system you use. How much less playful could I be? But it's true.
It is true, but it's true in one of those ways where it may not feel like this huge revelation all at once. I love the fitness analogy because it is a lot like that.
Yeah, like if you decide, oh, I want to get toned, I want to get stronger, you don't just go eat a couple carrots and lift a 5-pound weight and say, I'm done. Where's my result? It takes time, repeated effort.
And I think I talked about it a little bit earlier in terms of connecting with others. I mean, you can offer this to other people as well who may be having a tough experience with something, and you can inject a little play or just a reshift of the focus for just a moment, and it can really relieve pressure and help them sort of get out of a place.
Yeah, and go, never thought of that way.
Yeah, it's really, really rewarding to do that sometimes.
Yeah. Another thing about play that I want to say, because I know we want to get to our game. I'm stalling as much as I possibly can.
It's time to play.
Scott Eberly, who was the former editor of the American Journal of Play and the former vice president of the National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. Chris, you should go report back.
I'm still trying to convince the family.
Yeah.
They're kind of hot and cold about it. That sounds like fun. Nah. But one of the coolest things of looking at all of the exhibits that are at that place, it just drives home the point that play is not about the activity.
Right.
There's a freaking wide range of stuff for many, many different people to find something that
they consider play, or that feels like play.
That's right.
It's how it feels
for them.
Yeah. But Scott Eberly talks about how play can foster empathy. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think right now in today's world, not that it's across the board, but I feel like we could always, always, always use more of that. The ability to put yourself into somebody else's shoes and sort of experience what they're experiencing. We need more of that. And so play is a way to strengthen that as well. And then finally, it just kind of like gets you out of your rut. I'm a very regimented person. I know take the look of shock off your face.
No, you're not.
Take it away. But, play gets you out of your rut. It fosters spontaneity and creativity and just mixes things up and makes things more fun and less boring. So there's my whole soapbox about why I should love play, as should we all.
You are a wonderful player as long as your brain is led to believe that you're not playing.
Exactly. If I can convince myself that I'm training for something, I'm all good.
It's like the kid that learns to ride the bike and is doing fine. And then you're like, look, you're no training wheels. Crash.
Okay.
So now we're going to play a little game that we're calling Slop Seat Mud Seat. And that's because we couldn't really decide what to call the game. So we're just calling it all of it.
It's our version of hot seat. We're just going to call it slop seat, mud seat. And who knows, if it's something that's fun and you guys like it and we have fun doing it, we might do it again sometimes. So basically there's no rules. There's no points. There's no nothing. It's really just us asking each other silly questions. And we do not know each other's questions.
Okay.
Okay, who's going first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Which celebrity would you want to narrate your life and why?
Morgan Freeman, because his voice. No, I'm kidding.
He's a badass.
What celebrity? Jim Gaffigan. Just because I love him. And I feel like his voice when he's sort of exasperated is so much of what my life is.
So I don't know if this was your experience or not, but for whatever reason, you just said that. And I started thinking about when he became really popular.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you sharing him with me.
Yeah.
And we would sit and watch Jim Gaffigan and just fucking laugh from our gut.
I love him.
He's funny.
He's really funny. I got to see him. He came here once and I got to go watch him. He did his whole bit about Hot Pockets, and I thought the whole audience was just going to shit themselves. It was so funny.
And also like the McDonald's thing. Why does everybody say they don't eat at McDonald's? Like, hello, billions served.
Oh, I love him. He's good. He's good. Yeah. So that's who it would be.
I like it.
It would be Jim.
All right.
Jimmy. Okay. If you were a Starbucks drink, what would you be?
Oh.
I want specifics, damn it.
Well, venti, light ice, 1 shot of espresso black. How's that for playful, bitch?
That's it? Wow. That sounds like corporate Chris drink. Come on, man.
Well, okay, so the playful Chris has moved on to Dunkin' Donuts, but it's the same fucking drink.
Okay. Well, then you have to tell me why.
Because I like caffeine.
So wouldn't you be like a red eye? Aren't those like loaded with caffeine?
Yeah, that's what it is.
But about your personality, like if you were a Starbucks drink.
Well, my personality is that when I choose to do something, I just lean into it.
You're going for the caffeine.
That's right. You're going to drink a coffee.
It's not about the frills.
It's not sugar. There's nothing that's 4 creams. Like, get the coffee.
All right. Yes, sir. All right. Next.
Okay. So now we're going to move into one of my sensory-based questions.
Ooh, okay.
What is your dream combo for a build-your-own ice cream flavor?
My dream combo. Oh, I love s'mores. I live and die by s'mores.
All right. So I'm sure s'mores exists, but
It does exist.
if you were going to add a little smidgen to the s'mores, what would it be?
I would put some cayenne pepper on that bitch.
Ooh, light it up.
Just because you wouldn't be expecting it. And s'mores and fire go together.
I don't know what just happened in my brain, but I just remembered The Usual Suspects when Kaiser Sose dropped the lighter.
See? Okay, I like it. I would never eat that, by the way. That sounds disgusting. Okay, if there were a zombie apocalypse and the only thing you had access to in order to survive was the very last thing that you ordered from Amazon, what would you do with it?
I need to know what it is.
Yeah, go look it up. What was it? What is it?
It's very fitting for today's topic. It's a Rubik's Cube. I think I would totally be fun.
All right, Bambi, what are you doing with your Rubik's Cube?
I don't know. Problem solving for zombies?
Mind fuckery for the zombies. Could you chuck it? Is there any weight to it? Would it?
I could not knock out a field mouse with that thing. It's like one of those super lightweight gamer cubes.
Oh, like the really fast ones that you can, like they glide?
Yes, it's a speed
Yeah,
cube.
that would be worthless. You'd be dead.
Yeah, I've been learning how to manipulate it with one hand.
Maybe you could show that as a trick to the zombies, and they would be so impressed that they would
Eat
let
me?
you live. Okay.
What song would you play every time you walk into a room?
What song would I play?
Forever. Every time you walk in the room.
That's a hard one. It depends on what mood I'm in. But I will pick one of my favorite songs because it never gets old to me, and that is Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Ooh.
I have a Tears for Fears shirt. I am the world's biggest nerd.
Going back to Real Genius, that is the song when they blew up the house with popcorn.
I know. Which is probably why it came to mind, but that really is truly one of my favorite songs. Okay. What's the dumbest injury you've ever had?
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Do tell.
So I remember when I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11, I was downstairs in Nana's apartment, and she used to live with us.
Yeah.
And in her bathroom, God knows why the fuck I was doing this, but she had that yellow cup.
Yes,
remember it?
the yellow cup.
Yes. And I put it on my face and sucked as hard as I could for like a long time, to the point where my...
Wait, are you telling me you gave yourself a face hickey?
Yes, all the way around my whole mouth. It enveloped my chin.
How long was it there? Why don't I remember this?
Long enough for me to get teased relentlessly.
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious. Oh, man. Okay.
All right, I'm going to give you another
Okay.
one. If your dream house had one completely unnecessary room, what would it be?
A completely unnecessary room.
Like a room just completely unpractical, just whatever.
I don't do impractical.
We're stretching.
You're really making me stretch on this one.
You're getting toned.
Okay, I think, you know what it would be? This would also have to come with someone that would take care of it, because I have no interest in taking care of it. But a pool. I would have an indoor pool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do you think that...
And it would have a hot tub, too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that you would ever wear like a dolphin suit and go swimming in it? Or am I pushing
You know how you have to like really be gentle when you're first stretching, or you'll like tear ligaments or something?
That wasn't gentle.
That was not gentle. If you were an action figure, what accessories would you come with?
Anything that could make me fly and be able to live underwater.
What the hell accessories would that be?
Self-propelled submarine, a jetpack, wings.
Okay. I guess like Batman then. Batman probably had all of those things.
I don't like Batman.
Okay. Well, God.
Sorry.
So we should wrap that up so that we can walk away with a few little micronutrients today. And for me, I would say this has been helpful and eye-opening in that I know that I really don't need to take myself so seriously. And play itself is not pointless. It actually serves a really important purpose for all of us, especially adults. And again, appealing to my overachiever self, it helps us get better at life in general, especially in really hard times, which I would venture to say that right now is a hard time. It's a hard season of life.
Yes.
What are you walking away with? I'm sorry. What are you frolicking away with?
I feel like we should post a video of frolicking.
Of you frolicking?
I want to see you
I
frolic.
want to see you frolic.
Oh, I can frolic. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to suck a rubber cup to my mouth while I do it?
Oh my God.
That's advanced frolicking. Do not try that at home. Play is a powerful connector. I think, among people, right? I can connect with you and with other people through play and humor.
Yeah.
But I also learn things about myself when I get lost in play.
Yeah.
So there's a discovery of parts of me when I really just let myself go.
And therein lies that difference, right, between escapism or avoidance and play.
Yes.
Because you're really actually tuning into yourself more.
Yeah. And it's that, like you brought up earlier, the idea of improvisational potential, like discovering stuff within yourself through
Seeing
just
what happens.
letting it go.
Yeah.
It's also infectious as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about comedy shows. That's infectious. People love that.
Humor is such a big theme here for us. I mean, it may not be
Yeah.
for other people, but man, that feels like such an important piece of this
Yeah.
for us.
Well, we already said that for us, it's a language
Yeah.
that we identify.
But even after having just spent a few minutes laughing with those questions,
Yeah.
that lighter feeling is there, that rejuvenated,
Yes.
I
would only say that in future podcasts, I would like to start recording in the morning because now I will not sleep for like
I know,
2
I'm like
hours.
amped up. I'm amped.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are my main ones.
Yeah. So everybody get out there and play, damn it. And tell us what you thought of our little slop seat, mud seat game.
Slop seat, mud seat.
Might just make it a thing. And don't forget to join our community.
How do we do that again?
You go to themidlifemud.com/join and just hit sign up.
Okay.
All right. And with that,
We'll see you next time.
in the mud.
Thanks for being with us in the mud today.
If you liked this episode, do us a huge favor and subscribe to the show. This is going to make sure you never miss an episode, and it's going to help us grow our muddy community, which would mean the world to us.
See you next time in the mud.